Welcome back to the Back in Time channel. There is major beef going on with the ladies of the group XSCAPE, a popular female group that rose up to stardom in the 90s and ended in the early 2000s. Now, multiple outlets have reported that Tasha was on the outs with the other ladies because of miscommunication with the stylist in the group about a dress. So XSCAPE was honored with the Lady of Soul Award recently, and while they all stepped out looking beautifully, they weren't all coordinating. The rumors had already been circulating earlier this year about some of them not getting along, including the Scott sisters not speaking. Now, it's no secret that Tasha and Candy has always had some major issues in the past within the group that ultimately, according to Candy, ended up in them disbanding. And a real quick history about the group, or Latasha and Candy's beef, is both sang lead back in the day in the group. And allegedly, Tasha felt some type of way and got jealous in the tension group between the two. She had a solo deal in the works behind their backs, and Candy felt like she was using the group to go solo. And a long story short, Tasha had always felt some way about Candy getting her way, and she felt like Candy complained a whole lot. And when she found out that Candy had hooked up with Jermaine Dupri, which was their producer at the time and the person who discovered the group, she threw it in Candy's face. She announced that she was going solo. She said all kinds of things to them. They got into an argument, and her and Candy's argument turned physical. They got into a fist fight. Now, this fight was confirmed by both Candy and Tiny. It was confirmed by Candy on The Real, and Tiny confirmed it on a Vlad TV interview.
Talking about girl groups, yes. When arguing with one of my members, she swung on me and we tore that room up.
What?
I mean, tore the whole room up, tore up the keyboards, the doggone amps broke.
Everybody know.
Who was in the group?
I don't even give you all that information.
Who won, Candy? Who won the fight,
I ain't give you all that. I don't like to be biased. I always say, if Tiny ever comes on the show, you can ask her about it. Let her tell you. But
Tiny, come on. What?
I mean, was there ever any real drama, like a fist fight or something
There was
just going
definitely
crazy?
some fights. Well, we only had really two fights. Like, me and Candy had a little slap, you know what I'm saying? A little quickie, you know what I'm saying? And I was pregnant, so, you know, it wasn't that bad, but we did have a little slap here and there, you know, we got into a little. And then Tasha and Candy finally got into a fight as well. And it just seemed like it was a long overdue time because they were always kind of back and forth. And it finally escalated into a real fight. And I just remember us rehearsing. I don't remember what we were rehearsing for, but that rehearsal hall was turned upside down.
After the fight, things weren't the same. But what really had put the nail in the coffin was when Tasha Scott's sister Tamika went on a radio interview and blasted Candy. She said that she was sleeping with Jermaine Dupri and accused her also of sleeping with his father too. Now, years went on without them even speaking and talking, but Candy and Tiny still had success outside of the group. Their writing careers, they won Grammys. They was able to have success in different fields. And the other two ladies were kind of off, you know, in the shadows. We really didn't hear too much about them. Fast forward 10 years later, the sisters tried to reunite the group, and they tried to get back together in celebration of So Def being honored. And Candy was not having it. She felt like they had issues that they had not resolved in the past. Now, the other two ladies, the Scott sisters, did say that they tried to publicly apologize or whatever, but Candy wasn't feeling it. They had major beef and they had major issues, and she didn't want to reunite until their issues were resolved. They finally was able to reunite years later, and they landed a show on Bravo called Just Kicking It, where again Candy and Tasha's beef had to be hashed out. And the ladies eventually worked through this, and they were able to tour, and everything was looking good for them. Fast forward to now. Tasha responded to a comment in defense of her when the public wasn't feeling the vibe of the group on the red carpet. Everybody was saying that she looked it out of place and that it was awkward and that you can tell that there was tension. Well, Latisse777 said this. Maybe at Latasha Scott didn't know the dress code or what the other ladies planned on wearing. Maybe she honestly didn't know. Did you all think of that? And she is not required to dress like the other ladies. None of them had to dress similar. This is a celebration of XSCAPE as artists, their longevity and their incredible music, not about how they're dressed. And Latasha responded to this and said, "Thank you, because they didn't tell me anything. It's more to this than people know." Now, when the public saw this, of course, everybody got to talking and everything. And then Candy scooped underneath Latasha's comment and said, "The only thing for people to know is that you chose to have a separate stylist from the rest of the group. You chose to separate yourself. Do not blame us for that. Stop continuing to put out false narrative." Now, when Candy said this, I found this interesting that she said that she chose to separate herself from the group because it all was just bringing back, the familiarity of Latasha in her early days when she was going solo. Now, after Candy made this comment to Tasha, the fans and the public assumed that they were beefing again. And of course, it was back in the blogs and everybody was posting. And even Tiny posted a message on her social media that really made me start to think, what's really going on? Tiny posted in her message on her IG, and she says, and I quote, "Be comfortable with not sharing your side of the story. God saw it all." She also commented and posted on her IG, "Through all the BS, we still gonna shine. At the real Tamika Scott, carrying her weight and then some. Not too shabby with our first run. Acapella. Pull up on us when you hit your city, providing nothing but good vibes and vocals." Now, when Tiny said this, my eyebrows started to rise because Tiny is one of the most unproblematic members of XSCAPE. Now, while Candy is level-headed, Tiny is a great mediator. She has been that great mediator for the ladies for years. So not only has Tiny and Candy maintained a healthy relationship, but Tiny also maintained a relationship with the Scott sisters. So I thought this was interesting and very telling when Tiny made this comment. Now later on, people started to notice that Candy and Tasha weren't following each other and were saying Tasha blocked Candy. But it really turned out that Candy blocked Tasha, and Tasha had to come out and let everybody know this because she was getting so much backlash from everybody because everybody assumed that she was being selfish and that she was being ungrateful, basically, I guess you could say. Now, not only was people dragging Tasha in the comments, they even threw in her face that her sister didn't tell her really because she is the problem. They're like, well, you are obviously the issue if your sister is not talking to you. But even beforehand, the public seemed to forget that, they weren't on speaking terms because it was already rumored, that filming their new reality show that's going to come out next year, that her and her sister were at odds. This was odd to me because Tasha made a post about families sticking together when she celebrated her mom. And I'm going to go ahead and read the post to you guys and tell you what it said. The post said, "Today I thank my mother and my sister at the real Tamika Scott. With family, you don't always get along or agree on everything, but the love that we share never can be duplicated nor replaced. Looking back, I realized what we had to endure to get to where we are today, and I appreciate you, Mama G, for showing us unconditional love. Now I know who I am and whose I am, a child of the King. No matter what forces may come against us, you taught us to stick together and operate with love, because love conquers all. As I celebrate my family, I pray that everyone can celebrate theirs as well. Happy Friday." Now, this was posted earlier this month, earlier this month in November. So what happened between that time and now with her and her sister, I really don't know. But that post to me stood out as well because she talked about sticking together. And if you can remember, her and her sister has always been very close. And after constantly being dragged, Tasha made a post that was obviously subliminal to the other ladies. And the post said this. Check out this video.
People think that you're going to remain silent, and they're betting on your silence, hoping that you'll go along to get along. But they don't understand that they've pushed you too far. That there's another side of me that I try to keep in submission. But you tried to play me one too many times. God, y'all ain't helping me tonight. But God says, I need you to know your silent season is over. This year, I'm going to tell you how I really feel. This year is no holds barred. If you can't handle it, you might as well get out of my space, because I'm tired of biting my tongue and I done ran out of cheeks to turn.
Okay, so you just saw this video, right? So after that, some people were in Tamika's comments about Tasha, sticking up for her, saying that you should stick with your sister, whether she's right or wrong. And one of the users said this: it has nothing to do with right or wrong, or it is her, whether it is her sister or not. If her sister was wrong, she was wrong, period. No one knows what went on behind closed doors but them. A person can't continue to be on someone's side, especially if they are wrong. It's called growth. At the Tamika Scott, it has nothing to do with money and fame. That's the problem now. Too many people are justifying wrong behavior of people. And Tamika saw this and she responded and said, well said, thank you. This is so true. God knows the truth. It's definitely not about money or fame. Love my sister Latasha and has always had her back for years. Right or wrong, it comes a time when you mature and have to make the right decisions. God is watching, and I'm not disappointing him for nobody. Now, I felt like when I saw this, that this was very interesting. And before I give my comment on this, I'm going to continue to give you the breakdown of what happened after this. So after all of this happened, whatever, and Tasha posted her subliminal messages or whatever, she made a whole post addressing the whole situation of what's going on with the stylist and why she's not touring with the group, right? So she put in a recent post her side of the story, and I quote: first off, I'd like to apologize to all of my fans. It's so unfortunate that I have to tell my truth this way. However, in this space, I won't be silenced by who has the bigger following. If I don't say anything, I'm dragged. And if I do say something, I'm dragged. So here it goes. Me having my own stylist initially came when the group was at odds, when the original stylist about being overcharged. The group as a whole felt a way about it. So when they decided to use him again, I had already made a decision to work with someone else to avoid the confusion. We've done 3 shows together that my stylist styled me, and the other ladies wore looks by their stylists, which were all in sync, just like the performance look from the awards. My stylist and their stylist were in contact all week about the performance look. So I don't see how the same info wasn't shared for the carpet. Had any of the sisters come to my defense, it wouldn't have gotten this far. Instead, they watched me be dragged on the internet as if I'm the problem or this was done intentionally, which is untrue. Now, when she said this, I found it to be interesting, especially when she made a comment and said that, she won't be silenced by anyone, no matter who has the bigger following. I thought that was interesting because to me, it seemed like it was a slight at Candy. Now, I could be reaching with it, but it did come off that way because obviously Candy has the most followers. This also made me raise an eye. when she said the sisters hadn't come to her defense about being dragged on the internet. Well, initially, what really kicked things off, there was always circulation and rumors and stuff like that, but what really kicked things off was when Tasha made the comment talking about there's more to the story and stuff than people really know. So that's really what really was kicking off everything, in my opinion. And she went on to say, the reason I'm not doing the tour is because the promoter, the girls are on tour with threaten my husband's life. The promoter was initially brought to the table by my husband for a few shows. 2 of the ladies had COVID on the show dates, so my sister and I performed alone in Atlanta. And the other show we had to pull out of. That's where the deal went left over a situation that could have been resolved. The promoter then referenced getting my husband's head touched and me being a widow. Would you have gone on tour with them? If that was any of their husbands, they definitely wouldn't have done the tour either, which I would have supported. Like I told them in management, I am available for any dates that doesn't include that particular promoter. I chose family and loyalty over everything, but when my sister chose to disrespect our mother on a public platform, I literally couldn't stomach it, and we haven't spoken since. I am trusting that God will restore and bring my family back together. This just hurts. So as you can see, she addressed, why she's not going on tour, and she also addressed why her and her sister are not on speaking terms. My thoughts are this. When it comes down to the husband, there's always been rumors that even in the past, he has been a problem within the ladies of the group and was just within managing Tasha, period. So this, instance is no different, it seems like to me, because him being into it with the promoter and the promoter threatening him, I don't see how that has anything to do with the other ladies. At the end of the day, this is business. Now, if the other ladies were being threatened, I could, understand that they didn't want anything to do with them. But because this is something that is going on between the 2 men, her husband and the promoter, this really doesn't have anything to do with the other ladies. The only underlying issue I could think is between money and possibly ego, because that's usually what happens when you have 2 men that can't see eye to eye, and it has something to do with business and stuff like that to lead to the fact that your life's being threatened. So ego is probably something that's playing a part in all of this as well. I do think it's a conflict of interest that Tasha and her husband are doing business together. When you look at the other ladies, none of their husbands work with them. I do believe that the other sister, Tamika husband, at some point he probably was her security at some point. But as far as managing her wise, Todd doesn't manage Candy. T.I. doesn't manage Tiny. And I don't think her sister husband manages her. The only person that's being managed by their husband is Latasha. So I do believe that this is a problem, within the group, because again, it caused problems in the past. Also, as far as her addressing the fact that her and her sister aren't speaking because she was upset about her disrespecting her mother on a public platform, that is news to me. And I bet it's news to the public as well, because I did my best to try to go back and see, could I find anything where the sister could possibly be disrespectful, and I couldn't find anything. I do believe that, that's only half of the truth. I believe that that's partially true, the reason why they're not speaking. I'm not going to say she's lying about her sister disrespecting her mother publicly, because I don't know. But either way it goes, nobody knows, because that was information the public wasn't privy to. And you put that out there. And it's funny how she say in one of her previous posts that had her sister stepped up and said something, none of this would ever gotten this far, and about her being dragged and stuff like that. And I think about things like these ladies are from a time where basically now they're considered old school, right? They're from a time in the early 90s where social media didn't exist. So they had a lot of training when it came down to the media. They had artist development training. So, and they also had publicists, which is something that a lot of artists lacks today. They lack publicists. Why pay somebody extra money when it's my platform and I built it and I get to speak out on it and I can say whatever I want? However, that tends to be something that works against these celebrities, because when they put out and they get in their emotions and they put out certain things, you know, that they can't take back. You need somebody that's unemotionally attached to you, that is professional, and that's going to handle your situations properly. I do believe that these ladies are well seasoned enough where they can address situations respectfully. However, when your emotions are in the mix and you feeling some type of way, you're more than likely going to say something that's just, you know, that's going to make things worse. So I do believe that, you know, she could have just kept quiet when it came down to a situation involving her and her sister and her mother, because unless it's addressed on the show that's coming up, it wasn't needed in this case. She could have just left something simple as, me and my sister are not speaking, this is not new news, we're not on seeing eye to eye right now, but hopefully as a family, as a unit, as sisters, we'll get back on track and we still have love for each other. It's just something that happens. Drama happens in family, you know, have problems every day, all the time. But, you know, again, I never saw anything where her sister disrespected their mother or whatever. However, I do believe that the real reason why Latasha is upset with her sister is because she's not getting the same type of ride or die feeling from her sister as she gotten before. If you think about it, Latasha was defended by her sister against Candy because they got into it and the group disbanded. Tamika went on the radio and lied and said Candy, you know, slept with JD's father, and it wasn't true. And that ruined their relationship because Candy said that her and Tamika were very close at one point. And so I feel like she genuinely felt bad about that. She did apologize to Candy, and she wanted to grow and mature and move on from that. And I think that because, you know, history has a way of repeating itself in this situation. If you think about it, in that instance, back in the day when they got into it, Tasha was going solo, right? She told them she was separating from the group. In this instance, there's talks of Tasha going solo. Candy has already mentioned her choosing to separate herself from the group. And now, you know, the only difference is instead of her sister riding for her like she did then, she's no longer doing that now. You know, she's just trying to pretty much stay out of it. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, people mature in different ways, and you can't expect people to be on the same level or grow to the same level you are on. So Tasha might be on a level that her sister may not be, and vice versa. But you can't expect people to meet you on the same level, or whatever level that is that you're on. So either way it goes, it's a messed up situation. I do believe she expects more loyalty from her sister because she keeps stressing it in the post, and she keeps stressing how they were supposed to stick together and stuff like that. That just really stood out to me. That's my opinion. But let me know your opinion down below. What you think about this whole situation. What you think about the group. Do you think the group are going to last? Do you think that once the reality TV show come around, it's going to make things worse? Do you think that it's going to open up fresh wounds and they might not have anything to do with each other? Do you think these girls need to ride this thing out as long as they possibly can, get all the money that they can, because you don't see it for them in the future? And it sucks for those who are fans of the group because they won't get to see all four of the ladies together. They're going to just see three of them. So leave your comment down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe here with us at Back in Time. But until next time.
This is a good time. Get the stepping. This is a good time. Get the stepping.